welcome back to the newest episode of the Altar of Madness. This will be continuing the series of episodes about Babylon 5. Now, this episode I will get into my favorite season, Season 3, which is titled Point of No Return, and this was 1995 to 1996. Now, this season starts off where the last season ended. Earth Alliance arrives and they have this data crystal of a shadow vessel, and they want to find out if anyone knows what it is. So they go to all of the ambassadors, Jakar, Londo, Delenn, everyone, and no one is able to really say that they know what it is except Jakar, because Jakar has the book of Jaquan, which was an ancient Narn book, and in that book there is a depiction of the shadow vessel, the spider-like ship. So whenever he explains it to the guy doesn't really take him seriously. It's a legend, it's a myth, and Jakar's serious. So Jakar at that point realizes, the shadows are back with a vengeance, and that's what that is. And so whenever he goes to question the new Captain Sheridan. Sheridan is actually away at the time with Delenn, and it just so happens with the introduction of the Rangers previously, they basically have a new ship called the White Star. Okay, get it? White Star, black shadow ships, the White Star. And called White Star. Sheridan destroyed the Black Star during the Earth Minbari War, so that's kind of fitting. And now the White Star starts out as one ship, and he eventually, in the season, uses it to destroy a shadow vessel that attacks it. The White Star has partial Vorlon technology built in with it, so it's not just like a Minbari vessel, even though the Minbari vessels are very powerful. Now, he basically uses a special maneuver. He is able to create a jump gate, which what a jump gate is in Babylon 5, instead of going into warp speed and ludicrous speed and whatever. They have these jump gates that are you'd say it's like a toll booth or something, but it teleports you from one space to another. Well, the White Star is able to create its own jump gate. So what Sheridan does is he creates a jump gate inside of a jump gate, and it causes a reaction and an explosion that destroys a shadow vessel. So that was really cool. Showing that Sheridan is able to do some interesting maneuvers and tactics against the enemy, as he did the Minbari before. So, okay, in this season, and this is a very, very, very big season for the show. Day in the Strife. There's an alien probe appears, and they have they have to answer all these questions, or basically all these medical questions, all these high-tech questions. It's a test, really, because if they are able to answer all these questions, then this bomb explodes and kills everyone. So it's a way to kind of get rid of competition, get rid of. They don't explain ever where this probe comes from. But that was a very interesting plot device. Wishes of Authority. I did mention that there's this character that comes into this season named Marcus, who's very important. He's a ranger. He's like the main ranger that is introduced, and he's a great actor, great with the bow staff, and he has a love obsession with Ivanova that is unacquainted, you know, and Voices of Authority, they go looking for more First Ones, and they use the Epsilon 3 planet and all of its technology and knowledge, and she's a Latin telepath, so they go looking for First Ones. They do come in contact with the walkers of Sigma 957. But at the same time, an interesting thing is that during the use of the Great Machine below Epsilon 3, they were able to pick up a signal of something that had happened previously at the end of Season 1, when President Santiago is killed. She actually picks up on a transmission of Mr. Morden telling President Clark that everything is going as planned. So they know now. Now they know that there was a coup, that Earth Alliance is evil. They've known that Earth Alliance has been corrupt, but at this point now they know it was an assassination, and that, you know, they hear Morden's voice, of course, you know. So that was a really interesting one. Dust to Dust. It's this drug that Jakar gets a hold of, and he tries to attack Londo because they hate each other or whatever. But the drug basically gives you telepathic powers, and Narn, the Narn telepathic gene has been non-existent for years and years, you know, so they haven't had Narn telepaths, and so, and he's been trying to breed them, and Lita just won't let him do it, you know. So he uses the dust though, and while he's attacking Londo, he has a vision, and it's really cool. It's symbolic, kind of. He sees, like, I don't know, it's either Kalan or his father or something hanging from a tree. But it's basically Kosh giving him this message. He sees Kosh, he sees this being of light. So it's the Vorlon, you know, trying to give him a message, you know, and that's really his redemption. At this point, he does end up, you know, going into the jail, the prison of Babylon 5 for a while, where he begins writing a book, and he's there for quite a bit of this season, and he is enjoying his time there writing his book. The biggest episode, there are so many in this season though, I would say Messages from Earth. Martial law happens in this season, and they end up getting rid of Night Watch and breaking away from Earth Alliance. That's in Severed Dreams, actually. See, there's like a trilogy: Messages from Earth, Night Watch kind of expands, and it gets even worse, and they try to, you know, really control the station. And Severed Dreams, President Clark, he basically, it's martial law time. They have to take up arms against the Earth Alliance. In that episode, it's really epic because all of these Earth destroyers come, and they're gonna destroy Babylon 5. They're telling Sheridan, stand down, you know. And all of a sudden, like, Delenn comes with like all of her Minbari cruisers, and she's like, you know, epic line. You know, only one man has, you know, destroyed a Minbari ship before, and he's behind me, you're in front of me, and if you value your life, you know, leave now. And they get the hell out. And so at this point in time, Babylon 5 is protected by, you know, the Minbari and other races at that time. So that was a really good episode. Ceremonies of Light and Dark, I can talk about that one. It's a transitional episode. Remnants of Night Watch, you know, try to you know, take down Delenn, almost kill her. And they get new uniforms in this episode. They no longer wear their Earth Alliance uniforms, so they have these new uniforms. And this really transitions into like where they're headed with the show into the Shadow War. Ship of Tears, Bester returns. Bester is a great anti-hero villain. You know, psychop. You love to hate him. He's so funny though. He is. And there's a weapon supply that he's looking for, and you're not sure what it is, and it's telepaths. And that's when you find out that the love of his life, is a telepath that has this implant that the Shadows are going to use to put into one of their ships. So he intercepts. He has Sheridan help him intercept them because he wants to somehow remove the implant and have her come back to life someday. If that would ever happen, not probably ever possible, but okay. Interludes and examinations. I have to say, interludes and examinations. This is the episode where like Sheridan is like, okay, the Shadows, they're on full offense right now. They are actually attacking openly, and they have a war room now, and they're openly attacking. And you're like, what is going to happen? What are we going to do? Why are the Vorlons not doing anything? They are one of the first ones. They're the antithesis of the Shadows. Their main antagonists. So they're just sitting there on their encounter-suited butts and doing nothing. So Sheridan goes to Kosh and he says, "Hey man, you need to do something. You have the power. You have the same strength to take them down. Why are you not doing anything?" And he's like, "It's not our time." He's always very cryptic. Using these phrases like, "It is not. It's not our time." Blah blah blah. And he's like, okay. He knows that he's gonna do it. So he gets the Vorlons in on it. Vorlons come in and annihilate the Shadows. You finally see that. You see a really cool epic battle, and they get annihilated, and the Vorlons win. And everyone's like, yeah, proving to the other races that they have the potential to win. But Kosh knows that by doing so, Morden arrives and kills him. The Shadows do, at least. They come into his quarters, and the Shadows kill Kosh. And Sheridan envisions this in a dream. He knows Kosh is dead when he wakes up. Kosh speaks to Sheridan through as his father in the dream sequence, and when he wakes up, he's dead. And he's like, it had to be done, but at the same time, it sucks that Kosh is gone. Until they later, send a replacement to Kosh. And then we can really see how the Vorlons are different. Even if they all are Kosh. We are all Kosh. They all go by that name. Don't ask me why. War Without End, Part 1 and Part 2. This goes back to Babylon Squared. When Babylon 4 appeared in Season 1, you didn't know what was going on. These two episodes really explain what happens. They go back into time, like Jeffrey Sinclair returns, and he's like, we need to steal Babylon 4. It's going to show up, and when it shows up, it's going to disappear again. We need to go. We need to take it, and then we need to do some other stuff, and then we take it, and then we're going to go back with it. We're not going to let it, stay, and I'm going to stay back thousands of years back then with it, and I'm going to become Valen. Minbari, not born of Minbari, so he uses the same device that Delenn used to become, but he becomes, Minbari, and so he is Valen, and he fights the Shadow War, and wins. Thousands of years before, so that's really interesting. And also in this episode, there's this time shift, like this accident that happens, and Sheridan goes into the future, like randomly, and like he sees Londo Mollari, and Londo, who has had this vision in previous episodes in like Season 2, and or Season 1, I think, 1 or 2, and where all you see is like he is Emperor, and he's actually prophesied to become Emperor of Centauri Prime, and him and Jakar are killing each other, and you don't understand why. And in this episode, when he does that time shift, Londo has a keeper. He has a keeper on him, and a keeper is basically a parasitic device. It's like a parasite that once it's removed, you die, but when it's invisible, but it's got one eye, and it opens up, and like when you drink enough like Londo, it becomes visible, and you can do what you want, but the keeper controls you as long as it's attached, and you can't remove it. You cannot remove it. When you have a keeper, you are at the will of the shadows or the Duroc, which are the ones that are controlling. The Duroc are the servants of the shadows. They're a dark race that I wish were touched upon more, and they control Londo. And in this future timeline, Sheridan is captured by Londo, and Delenn and Sheridan have a son, and anyways, so long story short, that's really cool. Time jump to the future, and Centauri Prime has been devastated, but you don't know why. You don't know why, like, everything's destroyed. Talk about as an episode. It mainly deals with Stephen Franklin, the doctor, and his drug addiction to stems and stuff, and how he's trying to find himself, but it's a really cool episode for him. But also, the major aspect of that episode is that there is a replacement for Kosh, a new Vorlon named Kosh, this time wearing a purple encounter suit, arrives, and he's some people call him Olkesh. He's evil. Like, there are factions of Vorlons apparently, and most of them are bad. You think Kosh, the original Kosh, was good, and the Vorlons were an angelic race and awesome and amazing, and they're not, and they have ulterior motives, as we will later find out. And the Rock cried out, "No hiding place." This is really an episode where Londo kind of atones for his actions, and Lord Rifa, one of the other Centauri that he was kind of working with, Londo wanted to cut off all contact with the shadows and Morden, and Rifa did not want to. So this is basically where Londo, tricks him and gets Jakar and a bunch of other Narns to kill Rifa on the Narn homeworld, shaming his family, Rifa's family. I didn't really mention Lord Rifa a whole lot. He's a very minor character, but he was very involved in getting Londo to really work with the shadows, and really kind of influencing him to, hey, we need to take over, we need to mass drive the Narn homeworld, and so he was a bad influence, and Londo got rid of him. The final episode of this season is epic as hell. Zahadum. So Zahadum, where the shadows have awakened, where they are from. It's teased from episode to episode leading up to this episode that someone returns, and Delenn is shocked, and Sheridan is shocked. Sheridan and Delenn, they're in a relationship or whatever, and so Anna Sheridan comes back, the one that supposedly died. The one that supposedly died on the expedition with Morden. This episode's really well done. They make sure to check the back of her neck, because the telepaths, if she was trying to be put in one of their ships, there would be these markings on her neck, and sure enough, she is not who she says she is. She is changed. She wants to take Sheridan to Zahadum, have him meet with them, Morden, and the whole entourage of the humans that are basically doing the bidding of the shadows. And so he goes, but he has a backup plan. He has a white star. He doesn't just have the white star. He has a white star with nukes. Yes, he has nukes with a timer, with a detonator. And so, what does he do? They say the white star can't touch Doom because it's part of Borderline technology. So it would destroy. If it touched Doom, it would destroy Zod. Well, yeah, it does because what happens? Okay, so Sheridan walks in. He's like, okay, I'll meet up with you guys, and they try to explain, and it's a great scene. They try to explain, try to Then shadows come up on him, and they're trying to kill Sheridan. It's all a plot to try and kill him, take out him. Also, while this is happening, Babylon 5 is surrounded by shadow vessels. So, what is he going to do? Okay, is Babylon 5 going to be destroyed by the shadow vessels? No, because what happens is they flee because of what Sheridan does. He pulls out his PPG, which is it's not like a phaser, but it's a more realistic version of that, like a pistol. He pulls it out and he fires at the shadow, and he like runs. Sheridan's running. He runs. He's going down this corridor, going down this cavern, and the White Star, bam, comes down and crashes in, and Sheridan looks up and bam, oh, it just explodes. Everything explodes, but right before the detonation, here's Kosh say, "Jump now." See, Kosh has part of himself in Sheridan. Like Vorlons are able to put parts of themselves into people. He's able to kind of communicate, like he did in the dream sequence before he died. There's a connection there between the two of them. He hears the voice of Kosh, and he jumps. He jumps into the abyss, and you're like, what is going on? What's going to happen next? Did he die? Or what happened? You just see him fall. He's got to die, right? Well, we'll find out, won't we? Because I'll have to discuss that in the season 4 episode. But of course he doesn't die. There's a bit of a Lord of the Rings influence, Gandalf the Grey, Gandalf the White, returning from the abyss. It's a really good episode. It's a really well shot episode. Doom. It blew my mind when I saw it. The shadows flee, but also before they flee, you see Garibaldi. He's in a Star Fury, which I guess Star Fury's X-Wing type Star Wars influenced, but like they have different design. And Garibaldi is out there facing the shadows, like I don't know what he's thinking, but he gets abducted, taken, and you're like, what happened to Garibaldi? He never returned. Shadows are gone. The shadows are actually kind of quiet now. At the end of this season, things have changed. But what's going to happen next? What will happen next? I guess we'll find out. I guess we will find out what will happen next in the 4th season of Babylon 5.